Excuse me if I'm talking a bit faster and a bit less controlled than I usually do, it's just I don't have a ton of time right now. I mean, I do, it's the weekend and I don't have work on weekends, but every minute counts. Especially when all our leisure time activities demand so much time and devotion themselves, whether you're binging shows, watching movies, or playing games. Absolutely if you're playing games. Over the years, I've gained a massive game library, both physical and digital, but I've only ever played a fraction of them. And of those I've played, I've ever only really gotten deep into a small fraction of those. Out of all the games I have, most are just purchases I never needed to do, and that's crazy. It's not that I didn't have interest though, obviously I did. I wouldn't just throw money down for no reason, but the issue was time. There was just so many games to play that realistically getting through them all was just not going to be a thing for me. Now, your mileage may vary depending on your lifestyle, obligations, and amount of leisure time, but for me, yeah, just so little time. Between work trips, yeah, it's tough to get around to it all, and I just haven't. It used to fill me with a kind of despair, a kind of anxiety. I used to feel I was missing out on the greatest things of all time, be it shows, movies, anime, or particular video games. To know others have seen or experienced this grand thing that I haven't yet, it felt bad in several ways, like I was depriving myself, appearing uncultured to others, and disappointing both myself and others at the same time. But then I came across this article a few years back that validated and liberated me, and to this day, I keep it in the back of my mind concerning entertainment. It's a really simple 2018 article titled Learning to Let Go of Your Entertainment Backlog by Kellen Beck of Mashable.com. To summarize it, it's basically an article about learning to feel at peace that your backlog of entertainment is likely just too big to realistically ever catch up to, and how that's fine, so just focus on the things you really enjoy. They talk about how they had a notebook with movies they wanted to see, and even how they also had to give up on playing a Nintendo 3DS game they got because they just had too many other things going on. But they learned to be okay with it because of coming to this understanding. I quote them, "If you let it, entertainment will make you feel like you're in a constant game of catch-up." He also closed the article with this: "It's important to remember that entertainment is just that, entertainment. Movies, shows, games, books, podcasts, they're all there to entertain us and help us escape from the everyday stresses of real life. If you turn entertainment into a task, it is no longer entertaining, and that sucks." End quote. This was a liberating thing to read. For so long, I never knew why I wasn't feeling satisfied with my games, but I think this article gave me tons of insight. I was hardly even playing games to enjoy them anymore. I was playing them so I could get them off my list, and not even enjoying that part. I didn't even realize it, but that's what I'd been doing for ages. But now that I was aware of this subconscious slogging, now that I'd identified why I wasn't enjoying them, it was as simple as trashing 95% of the games and just playing what I truly wanted. That article was in 2018. By the time Genshin released in 2020, I was feeling pretty good about gaming again. I'd been following Genshin's development, having been a big Breath of the Wild fan, and after releasing, it was exactly what I expected it to be. Sorta. You see, I wasn't into gacha-games at that point. That was new to me. The game's daily limit of rechargeable points, aka resin, was just completely foreign to me. Like, dude, all I wanted to do was play the game. Just let me play and explore endlessly and level up my characters, please. Yeah, this crap was such an annoyance to me back in the day. It's actually pretty funny looking back at it. But boy, things can change. These days, I could care less about the resin system either way. Even if it was unrestricted, I don't know that I'd find time to use it all. And the proof is in the pudding. Because we do have resin and I haven't been using it all. And nothing from nothing leaves nothing, whether there's a limit or not. I'm in this weird state of Genshin backlog I've gotten behind, and honestly, it's starting to stress me to crap out. But why and how? Because normally when I feel stressed about entertainment, I call back to that article and I'm able to allow myself to feel at peace with being a little behind on something. It reminds me that it's okay if I'm still behind a patch or two on story and exploration. But it's not feeling that way lately. Why? You see, at the start of this year, I was mostly caught up on everything in Genshin. Story, exploration, all of that. Though things were a little rocky already due to some breaks I'd taken, but nothing I couldn't handle with consistent play. But I stopped playing Genshin consistently. Around February, I got way into Honkai Star Rail. Too into Honkai Star Rail. I couldn't stop playing Honkai Star Rail. Not to mention, I had 2,400 reserve Trailblaze points since it's not like my account was new. I played it at launch and got little to nowhere in the game. Couple that with 70 plus fuels and tons of story to go through going all the way back to and including Belobog, and yeah. Character building stories, tons of daily recharge points, you name it. I was playing HSR pretty much unrestricted. It's crazy. For these past few months, it hasn't even felt like a gacha game with limits. I could literally just do whatever I wanted in multi-hour stints, especially with the amount of main story, side stories, and events for me to catch up on. The content was never ending, and I got so lost in the sauce that I just kind of forgot about staying all the way current with Genshin. After getting through more HSR story though, and deciding to end my Genshin break to explore the new Chenyu Vale area there and do some other stuff I'd put in the backlog, it suddenly hit me. This was going to be a crazy balancing act. I needed to play some long-term catch-up with Genshin, but I had a ton of HSR resources and characters to build. That's the moment when I felt my first bit of despair. I wanted to play through Genshin's new content, but I really wanted to just spend some time playing HSR. Worth noting that League of Legends' new ranked season also reset at the beginning of this year. Previous years, I'd been able to tackle both it and Genshin by doing ranked very early in the year, hitting a sufficient ranked level in order to get the yearly ranked reward skin, afterwards just logging onto League when friends want to play non-ranked games, and playing Genshin otherwise. It was perfect, a couple of grindy weeks of League and then it turns into just logging on when I feel like it for clumsy, fun, non-ranked games. Well, this is the first time we've gotten this late into the year without me doing any ranking. Now, reaching June and doing no ranked would have been bad enough before, but want to know what makes that worse now? It's because League is doing ranked splits now, where there's 2 or 3 splits per year with rank resetting at each interval. It has always historically been just 1 rank per year, which is what was so good before. Could just get my rank and screw around in unranked games for the remainder of the year, no dedication required, on my own time. But now I'm supposed to worry about ranking multiple times in a season, and the reason that's so bad is, the year's first split just ended and I wasn't ranked for it. I just didn't have the time nor dedication to do it. That means I get no ranked rewards for that split, and if I ask myself why, the answer is clear. It's no coincidence that the ranked split started right around the time I picked up Honkai Star Rail. Too much story, too many past events, and general things for me to play catch up on. Not to mention still playing Genshin and hitting the game group up for Smash and other things. My attention was just too divided, especially adding that I wasn't able to stay refreshed on League's patches and meta quite the same anymore, making ranked all the more daunting to even think about. I mean, even if I did want to go play some ranked so I can get ranked for the second split of the year, I'd just get obliterated at this point because I don't even know what's viable or good anymore. My time with League has yet to fully recover, and I can confidently say that picking up Honkai Star Rail was a huge part of that. It's so ironic. A couple of years ago, I would let go of Genshin for weeks and focus on other things like League ranking or making teams in FL Studio, just to let content build up in Genshin, because I was always at the edge of the content wall. I needed more quests, more map, more everything because I was always at the finish line as a day one player. Fast forward to today and my Fontaine map completion looks like I've been there for a couple of weeks tops. But look at the rest of my map and it's clear at one point I was able to keep up. I went from self-imposed breaks for the purpose of building up content to just wondering if maybe I should leave all the untapped story, quests, and map discoveries of Fontaine behind when Natlin releases. Just start fresh, you know? Especially because once Natlin releases, I'm going to be contending with a whole new beast. Because Natlin will be a whole new quest line and map to discover with new things and new mechanics. After starting Honkai Star Rail and trying to play catch up with the game and community there, the Fontaine that's been here all this time became a task too tall. And now a whole new nation is set to release soon. And you want to know the funny thing? I did catch up on Honkai Star Rail, at least the main story. But now guess what? I haven't done the very latest Honkai Star Rail story, because right after catching up, I finally decided I could take a little HSR breather and play some other things. And that's when I made my biggest mistake, Wuthering Waves. I'd been watching this game's development for a long time and was always super excited to play it. It just always looked like a great compliment to Genshin, and I can say that after playing it, I was right. The first half of this year with Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, and League should have taught me something though. Wuthering Waves is such a fun game, such a good game. I really enjoy just about everything about it other than how emotionless some of the characters can feel, and a couple of other superficial things. But as a game, it's wonderful. Was adding it a smart decision though? I don't know that it was. Because now I'm playing neither Genshin or HSR as much as I want either. But at the same time, I'm nowhere near the edge of Wuthering Waves' opening story, because I am still putting time into Genshin and Honkai Star Rail. I'm still not on League as much, and other things have just fallen off the radar too. You know, I love Helldivers too. Great game, super. I play it with my gaming homies in our Discord group. But this weekend, I just played my first session of Helldivers 2 since like late April or early May. And it's not that I couldn't, but these other games are screaming at me to play them due to their constant updates, limited time events, limited time characters, daily point recharges, ranked modes, ranked rewards. Like crap, dude. I know some will say these are gacha games. You should only be playing them a few minutes a day anyway. You should be able to do them all. But like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Because these new age gacha games are a lot more than just firing up the game, using points, and being done. Genshin and Wuthering Waves both have huge worlds to be exploring. Not only that, but quests. My god, the quests, they're so long sometimes. Not to mention the dialogue between the quests. There's literally hours of just talking, let alone traveling and playing the actual quests themselves, and building characters and all the exploration, and collecting oculi and Sonance caskets, and just wow. Then, with Honkai Star Rail, sure, exploration isn't as big of a thing, but those quests and events are just as dialogue heavy. And in all of the games, it's not that I want to skip the story. I'm interested in it to the extent it gives me context to the game I'm playing, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I at the very least use the skip feature in some of the side quests of the games where skipping is available. And yeah, all of the games have events to go through and daily points to use, limited time events to take part in, and characters on a timer and other mechanics. Genshin has a whole new nation on the horizon with who knows how much dialogue and quests. HSR has new locations and stories on the horizon. Wuthering Waves is brand new and I've barely tapped into it. Kudos to anyone who is able to truly keep up at the edge of content for all these games at once, but as for me, it's just so hard. You know, there's another game in the lineup of games that me and my friends play, and that's competitive style Smash. As competitive as the online allows anyway. Out of all the games in our lineup, I think Smash is the one that gives me the most comfort as far as my devotion to it goes. Why? Because I don't have to be devoted to it. Unlike Genshin, unlike Honkai Star Rail, or Wuthering Waves, or League of Legends, unlike any of these, Smash is a completed title. Its final update was a few years ago, and there's no current or ongoing in-game goals. No events, no limited time anythings, nothing. The only thing it has is a ranked mode where there's a GSP value assigned to your characters indicating your rank, but even it doesn't have a reset or anything. This game, we just play it. We get on it when we feel like it, we spend as long as we want on it, be it 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, all day, and then we get off. And we can do it again the next day if we want, or we can skip and do it a week later, or 2 weeks later, or a month out. Doesn't matter, we can just pick it up as we please, and it's so refreshing to have a game in our back pocket like that. Helldivers 2 is also that way to a degree. It does have an ever-changing war, and sure, you can miss out on participating in major orders, but in general, you can always pick the game up on your own time and contribute to the fight. The community at large is responsible for the success of the effort, and even if you weren't there to participate in the war effort, you earn the right to use the rewards. There's no FOMO involved here, other than just not being there yourself to actually help reach the community goal. It's absolutely perfect and non-demanding, just like Smash, and I think that's so underappreciated. Finished games like Smash or games with a minimum FOMO like Helldivers 2 are also great because you can feel okay about learning them. Over the past few years, I had friends try to convince me to get into some newer games, but most of the times it resulted in me declining the offer because of the sheer daunting task of having to learn a new game. And it's funny because, like, don't get me wrong, as an old school gamer, learning games has always been a fun process to me. But that's when I can pick them up and learn them on my own time, such as with Helldivers 2 or a completed game like Smash. Learning takes time. Time I used to have, but finding it increasingly hard to find nowadays due to both life and so many games wanting you to devote much time to them. I'm still learning stuff in Honkai Star Rail every day, especially concerning what's good, bad, and meta. I'm learning wuthering waves in general with how all the characters operate so differently. With League, yeah, I want to play it, but with so many patch changes, balance changes, item reworks, item changes, and new or reworked characters, I would have to relearn it too. In fact, League is probably the worst of all. Characters in League are buffed and nerfed as if Riot Games decides who's on the list by throwing darts at a board. The best champ out of nearly 170 can be the worst champ tomorrow. Win conditions change, items change. 2 or 3 weeks away from the game, and the game you once knew, it's history. Like, you don't know League anymore. A couple of months away from the game, and well, you get the picture. There's so much learning and relearning to do. And learning in itself is a huge time sink. Probably another reason I love the Smash series as much as I do. Sure, each Smash game has physics changes, character additions, combo changes, speed changes, and each feel totally different from one another. The best character in one Smash title might be a mid or low tier in another, but at the core level the idea at least is the same. The baits, the punishes, the character archetypes, edge guarding. There's a level of transferability there that makes picking up a new Smash less daunting than, say, picking up a whole new series altogether. It's not completely transferable, not at all, but at least I go into a new Smash game knowing what my goal is. You know, the only reason I don't have clear end yet is I ran out of pools. I would have those 40 or so pools I need if it wasn't for the fact I just barely played Genshin during 4.6. I only logged on maybe half of the days, and I skipped pretty much every event. It's also the first time in ages I didn't complete the Battle Pass. I think I got to Battle Pass level 15 or something abysmally low. These all together, missed logins, missed commissions, missed events, missed Battle Pass pools, they add up. Anywhere from 10,000 to 14,000 Primogems, according to what I've seen, or 60 to 80 pools, depending on the Welkin and Battle Pass commitment. And that's the thing, I do get both Welkin and Battle Pass. It's kind of upsetting that I wasted all of that last patch, not to mention it's money down the drain. And had I done it all, I wouldn't be in this situation of scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to get clear end now. I must have left a good 50 pulls worth of primogems and fates on the table, but I was just trying to play other things with my time. That's all I was trying to do. Now both Ron May and Firefly are coming in Honkai Star Rail, and I need to scrape the bottom of the barrel there too. Wuthering Waves though now has Yinling, who I really would like to have, but I only have so many pulls, so I gotta stay on the Wuthering Waves grind, as Genshi will also be coming out really soon and I want her too. So it's like, boy, I better put all my time into there, right? Except if I do that, I also miss Emily and Genshin, not to mention the Pyro Archon likely coming right around the corner, and Jade and Honkai Star Rail. Also, not to mention it's the weekend and I would love to just play more with the Discord homies in some games of Smash, or casual unranked League, or fire up some Helldivers 2 again, but it's so hard to do so because these other games are just wanting me to spend all my time on them to stay as current as possible. There's always the possibility to buy characters outright if I don't have the time to grind logins and passes and events, right? Sure, but stop and think about that. That's a problem of my own making at that point. I'm the one who decided to play the game, so now I buy the characters I don't have time to play and grind for? Yeah, not smart. Not to mention, if I don't have the time to fully invest in grinding for the characters, would I have time to even worry about playing them? Wouldn't that be a waste? What if I did get clear end? Now I gotta farm for her, spend time making her super strong, and just, bro. Yeah, I'm convinced that the more of these games I play is the less I should be willing to spend. I already have characters on my Genshin account I have yet to build. Limited characters. So we're not even hypothetical at this point. This is something that's already proven itself to be a real conundrum. When I think back to that Mashable.com article, I still believe in every word in it. Learning to let go of my backlog is extremely liberating. What's different now though? Before, why was it so much easier to let go of other games in my backlog, as well as other entertainment, and yet nowadays it's starting to feel stressful? I think it's because of this type of entertainment in general, particularly this live service always updating entertainment. You see, I do think that article is correct in the way it presents pretty much everything. That's why 95% of games that I wanted to complete got dropped from the list, but that's just the thing about this current age of gacha games and live service games in general. They don't complete. The backlog I'm dealing with is just a bit different than what the article is talking about, because we're not talking about cutting 100 games down to just 5 games I want to play. We're talking about 100 tasks in a single game. That's the nuance here. I don't have a backlog of a ton of games anymore. I got rid of that list of must-play games. What I have is a backlog of stuff to do in games. That's the part that I'm having so much trouble navigating, and that's the part causing stress. There's a fundamental difference between dropping a game off your backlog and having a backlog within a game. And it doesn't help that Genshin and Wuthering Waves want you to explore being open world games. From a time standpoint, that just makes it worse. And as for League, maybe that game wouldn't be so daunting to rank in if you could finish a game in 10 minutes. But playing dozens of matches that could reach 30 minutes or more each is just exhausting and frustrating when you get 2 or 3 victories in an hour, and then the next hour lose 2 or 3, so you've progressed nowhere for your lovely 2 hours of gaming. Which I guess you could just decide not to do some things in-game, just let go of your in-game backlog. As I said, when Natlin arrives, I'm debating just dropping all of my unfinished Fontaine stuff and starting fresh in the new nation. I could do that, but, and this is just personal, so everyone's mileage may vary, I'm a completionist. I mean, my Genshin maps and older regions show it. I could just skip it all, sure, but I do want to see these things. I do want to experience those quests. I do want to pull for and build these characters. You know? I do want to be ranked in League of Legends again. Some restructuring of priorities is in order though, and the only way I can think of is simply treating 1 or 2 games more casually and just letting it progress as is. Whether that's Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, League of Legends, whichever one or ones, I have to be at peace with letting some stuff sit on the table. It's not like it's a job or anything in the first place, and it's not like I haven't ever taken breaks in Genshin itself. As said before, I've purposefully taken months-long breaks before, which means I was inherently fine with leaving stuff on the table then. Completely missed every login, event, and pre-gem out there, and yet I didn't sweat that, I was fine with that. Upon coming back to the game, I never once thought to myself, wow, I lost tons of primo gems and resin during those 3 months away. But I do think that largely has to do with it being my choice. I decided to take those breaks. I think the reason it would feel kind of bad here is because I'm not so much deciding it in this instance. I'm forced to lower my time on 1 or 2 of these games out of necessity. But does it matter? Does that matter? The fact of the matter is, the world didn't stop turning because I took a few months away from Genshin, whether it was my choice or not. Maybe that's what I need to consider. It's not the end of the world if I say take a step back from Wuthering Waves and progress at my own pace there and leave stuff on the table. It's not the end of the world if I don't get 100% in my Fontaine before heading into Natlan. It's not the end of the world if I miss a character's initial run in Star Rail since reruns do exist. And when I think about it, I didn't play Honkai Star Rail for the first 9 or so months the game was out. Think about how much I left on the table with that. It's not that I couldn't play it, my account existed, but I was fine with just letting the game do its own thing, knowing I would play it eventually, on my own time. And that's exactly what happened. I did eventually get around to playing it. And did I miss tons of things? Yeah, sure, but was it the end of the world? Not at all. In fact, it's as I said, the catch-up gaming was some of the most fun gaming I've had. But during the lead-up, I was at peace knowing that characters were running and I wasn't around for them. I didn't care. And that's what I need to get back to. In fact, maybe just maybe that's another potential solution. Long-term single-game focuses. What if I did just drop Honkai Star Rail and Wuthering Waves for 2 or 3 weeks to fully focus on catching up on my Genshin exploration and quest backlog? Yeah, I'd be leaving stuff on the table in those games, but after catching up on Genshin, I could then drop it and do the same with one of the others, and so on and so forth. That might sound crazy until you realize that's what I literally did with Honkai Star Rail's launch up until early this year. The hypothetical isn't much different just because we're talking about launch up until now. The fact is, I consciously missed game time with full intention to eventually play, and that's exactly what happened. And at least as far as story goes, I did catch up. So if I did it then, what's the big deal now? I could just not play the game for a couple of weeks or months, catching up on the other games, and then come back to a crapload of story and content. Then repeat with Genshin or Wuthering Waves. Maybe the exhausting part isn't me playing all the games, but rather trying to play them all simultaneously. Whatever the case, it's a pretty ironic problem to have. Just too much entertainment out there to entertain myself with, man. And it goes beyond just the games, really. I like making music, making tunes. I also like watching particular shows and anime. I like spending time with family. I take trips. I'm not just spending my time on these games. If that was the case, I probably would be all caught up in them. This wouldn't even be a rant in that case. We wouldn't be here. These games are just one part of a much larger entertainment picture I'm dealing with. And that larger entertainment picture is just one slice of my free time pie. And believe me when I say, it's not a very big free time pie. Which is why I'm about to cut this rant. Because doing this is also taking my free time. You see, this rant alone, I could be playing one of those games. So yeah, let me just get ready to get up out of here and go do something else. I don't really have a conclusion to this rant. It's a rant, so I can't really tie it all up with a neat little bow. But if there is one thing I'd like to leave any possible listeners with, it's just this. Don't spend money trying to get clear end only to end up with Chi-Chi when the fact of the matter is you're not sure you'd even have time to fully commit to building that clear end anyway. Yeah. Rant over. Peace out.